Hi, I'm Julia Cordova. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. Today, I'm going to talk about how I plan a trade. A lot of people have been asking me for a long time about this, and so I hope it will be helpful. I'm going to go through just some basic bullet points right up front, and then I will show you a real example of a trade that I've been sharing on Twitter. So this will be really good, I hope, because then you'll be able to see sort of my thought process behind why I do what I do, and hopefully it will help you to develop your own thought process. So the first thing I look at when I'm planning a trade is something in an uptrend or a downtrend? Now, that sounds really simple, right? You look at a chart, is it going up, is it going down? So when I first started trading, I would look at a 5-minute chart and I would see it's going up. Oh my gosh, it's zooming up, it's squeezing, so I would buy something and then it would start to go against me, and then, and only then, I would zoom out and I would look at the 1 day and be like, huh, that's not really bullish on the 1 day, but you know what? It could turn around. It could happen. So and so says this is a really cheap stock or whatever it is, and then I would become an unwitting bag holder, or even worse, an investor in something. So I try to check something for multiple time frames before I do check multiple time frames before I make a trade. And my favorites for any sort of swing trade or something that you might keep for a day to 3 days to weeks is the weekly and the 4-hour charts. So if I'm looking to go long on something, I will make sure something is bullish on the weekly, and then I will drill down to the 4-hour and look for some sort of entry, like a bull flag or like a inverse head and shoulders or something like that, RSI support, something like that. So the next thing, after I look at time frame and I figure out what the trigger will be, is I define ahead of time what my stop will be. Now, trading is very stressful, okay? But I find there are certain things you can do to make it less stressful. So for example, if I'm buying something at say $30 and I want to set a stop of $28, like because of whatever's happening on the chart, I will calculate ahead of time what I actually will lose if it goes to $28. And that helps me very dramatically, because I know ahead of time what my defined risk is, not only in terms of the price of the stock or the equity or whatever it is you're trading, but in terms of actual cash. Okay, I'm willing to bet $1,000 on this trade. Like, I could lose $1,000 or 500, 200, whatever you're sort of looking at. But know ahead of time what you will lose, and that way it's not stressful. It's not as stressful. You don't want to lose it, obviously, but it's not as stressful knowing ahead of time that's your sort of max loss. Things can happen overnight that can take something below where you might want it to be. Understand that as well. Prepare yourself mentally for that to happen, but know ahead of time, if you've looked at multiple time frames, you've done what you can in order to make sure that you're successful, or make sure that you have very high odds of being successful. So that is the first thing. Now, is knowing ahead of time what your stop will be when you're wrong. And think to yourself, even imagine that I do this. I imagine the chart, I imagine it going down to where I think I'm wrong and how I'll feel. Well, what if it goes to 28 and then but then it goes to 27, but then it goes back to 28 and then it goes to the moon? What do? You can actually, in your trading plan, say, I will take a stop at 28, but if it goes back above 28 and then retests it from above, I will buy it again at 28. So then you'll feel better, because you'll know you don't have to keep holding it in case it turns around. You can exit the trade, but in your plan and in your mind, know ahead of time what you will look for in order to re-enter. That helps. That helps a lot, for me at least. So the next thing is whether or not you scale in. Now, I like to scale in, and but I don't always do that. So a lot of it depends on how bullish I think something is, and I wish I could say to you, okay, if this, then scale in. If that, then go all at once. I can't do that because a little bit of it is arty, and it just comes from years and years of watching the candles and watching the screens and just sort of, I don't want to say feeling it, but just sort of understanding the way that price action works. So I just feel like you can't go wrong scaling in, because if you buy something at the bottom of a bull flag as scaling in 1/3, you can have a plan to add the next 1/3 on the breakout and add the last 1/3 then on a back test of that breakout, right? Easy peasy. If you also are buying, and same thing if you're buying 1/3 on a bull flag, but let's say it goes up and then it comes back down, because guess what? It's hard to know when the end of a bull flag is. I'm just keeping it 100. Like, sometimes bull flags are short. They're just a few days long and then it goes whoop, but sometimes that bull flag keeps on going for a while. So even if you think you bought in a bull flag, and this happened to somebody who DM'd me on Twitter, they bought the silver bull flag, they thought, but the bull flag kept on going and it ended up chasing them out because they got in too early. It's very difficult to know when the end of a bull flag is. But if you've scaled in at the bottom of a bull flag and what you think is the bottom and it's not the bottom, wait for it. If you know ahead of time then what that line is, that slope on that bull flag, you can make a plan if you want to add the next 2/3 at a different place. That's not typically what I do, because I don't necessarily like to add lower if I'm not already in the green, but it is an option. Sometimes I've done it. It really depends on how the price action looks. But what I do enjoy doing is buying at the bottom of a bull flag, adding on the breakout, adding again if it back tests or it gets above another certain thing. So that is something I do all the time. Now let's talk about how to get out of a trade, how I get out. That is actually the easy fun part, right? Because that is very consistent. So depending on if I was trading with the trend or against the trend, I like to take profit pretty quickly. So I like to take profit at 3, 5, or 7%, depending on how bullish something looks, or if I'm bottom catching, and everybody's like, Julia, what are you doing? I might take profit at just 3%, partial profit. I'm talking about partial profit at 3%, just so that it's a win, and then I can set the rest to break even. But just so that I've gotten that little bit of money out of it, and I just feel like, you know what? No matter what happens now, this trade is green. I'm good. So I like to take 1/3 off at 3, 5, 7%. Now, if something is going to the moon, I feel like I might wait till 10%. But I take 1/3 off at a certain percent, whatever that percent is. I take another third off at resistance. Then I'm 2/3 out of the trade, but guess what? I'm green. And then I will keep my other 1/3, because sometimes I'll take something off at resistance and then that mofo will keep on going. And if I were to have taken the whole trade off, I'm going to feel like, and by the time I buy it back, then it'll start to go back down. So I like to keep 1/3 FOMO, what I call a FOMO scale, so that even if it goes beyond resistance, I'm still in the trade. I'm still good. If it happens to back test that resistance, then guess what? I can add my 2/3 that I already took off back in, and I will set a very tight stop for those 2/3, because I don't want to lose money when I'm adding to a trade, right? But that's one of my favorite things to do as well. So exiting the trade, 1/3 at 3, 5, 7%, 1/3 at resistance, 1/3 at FOMO, 1/3 keeping the FOMO, and then I add back when it back tests something, a resistance that then becomes a support. I will add the 2/3 back, or I'll add a third back, depending. But I'm just keeping it. Okay, so that is basically, in a nutshell, how I plan a trade. So let's talk about a specific trade, and hopefully that becomes more clear. Okay. All right. Let me do that. And okay. All right. Okay, so let's start by talking about silver, because that's sort of the trade that I've been sharing on Twitter. So I bought on this day that there was a blue circle, and I bought because I thought it was a bull flag, right? I missed this original bull flag because I was just like, I don't know. Looks like it might just go to the down here. So I missed that. But then it kept going up again, and I saw that it's then sort of doing that, and I bought here at the bottom of this bull flag. The next day I posted, I said, hey, I bought yesterday, so naturally it's down again today. Was I prepared for that to happen? Yes, I was. So if I look right here, you can see that I bought that same day at its lows, and I did buy pretty close to the low there. It was just touching this RSI support, so I figured, you know what, it's bull flagging, it's back testing my RSI support. It was also back testing this price support, or close enough. I thought it was close enough, so I'm gonna go for it. The next day, it really literally back tested both price and RSI support. So that would have been the perfect entry, right? But look at that day. Look at that day. It just went straight. I'm going to zoom it out even more. Or zoom it in, sorry. I mean, buying here would have been a little terrifying, not going to lie, because look how it ended the day. It just ended kind of like there's not a whole lot of bottom wick there. But I was comfortable in that, you know. I know my slopes. I know what I was looking for. I figured on a close below this, and specifically below this line, I'm going to look at RSI support. If there's no support, I'm out. So you can see here the day after I bought, it was like a perfect bounce off of price and RSI support. And then it just kind of held it there. Now I called out a McSqueezy above this level on Twitter. So I had also scalped this in my scalping account, which is different from my swing trade account. But so I'd made money on this. I got out at the end of the day. Did I feel a little crappy the next day when it opened higher? No, I really didn't, because you know what? I'm just the squirrel trying to get a nut. Like, I don't need to get all the nuts. I just need to get the nut that I care about, which is money. So, and then you can see it was sort of bull flagulating again here. Now right here, I tweeted again that silver was, on the verge. And because it would have crossed two of my lines that could intersect here. One would be the gift line and one would be the key line. So above the key line, I did say this, so it's very, very bullish, right? Because then we've got that big, huge, and that's what I was talking about too, when the person said, I bought the bull flag. Well, they thought this was the bull flag right here. I mean, right? It's hard to know. That's why scaling in, if you don't lose as much money if you scale in and you're wrong, and then you can look to enter it again. Okay, so here I added my next scales, and then to the moon, so to speak. Now I took profit, and I even said, if you haven't taken partial profit now, you're like a little piggy. And some people are like, I'm a little piggy, and you know what? Good for you. I'm super down with that. I just like to take my partial profit because I like to guarantee a win. It makes me feel good. I don't get every last penny. It makes me feel good. So I took some off here when we got to my key level. And then did I feel a little bit hint of like, oh, what did I do? A little bit, but I didn't see a good back test there on the lower time frames. So that's okay, right? I had taken off a third already. I took off more at the key line. And then let me talk about what I did that was a little like, what did you do? I got a little sense of the FOMO because my original plan was to add on a breakout of the key line or when it retouched these magnet lines. Well, just years of looking at price action said to me, I don't look, if you look here, like But anyway, I just didn't feel like it was going to go all the way back to the magnet lines. I wanted it to. I would have added even more there, but I just didn't feel it was going to go back. So just somewhere in the middle here, I added it, and I thought, you know what? I calculated ahead of time. What am I going to lose if not only does it go to this magnet line, it goes to this magnet line, and then what if it drops all the way to this MA? I knew ahead of time what my risks were, and I was okay with that because it's not the same slope, right? This is a little bit less of a slope. So that to me was very bullish, and I went ahead and added even though it was against my rules. Is it a win? Technically, yes, because it worked out for me. Am I proud of it? Yeah, not so much, because I really wish that I had followed my own plan. But there are some times after you've been trading for years and years that you do sort of say, you know what, this is not my original plan, change of plans, but here's why. And it really just didn't look like to me that it was going to go back and test that. And I was afraid, and this did happen, that if it did break out, it would happen in the middle of the night. And I wasn't trading futures, I was trading an ETF. And I didn't want to miss out. In fact, on this day, somebody tweeted at me. They're like, Cordova, what do you think of silver? And I'm like, I think, and it was 5 a.m. I'm like, I think it's about to break the F out. And then it did. So this is my rocket line here at 1850-ish on Friday, and I took some off here. It's close to an RSI resistance. At the very top of the day, it was hitting the RSI resistance, but I've taken some off now. Now, I kind of feel like it's just going to keep on going. Let's look at the big rocket, the one that, like, this is like the same thing in my original gold video, all the glitters. I'm like, if the gold gets above here, buy it. If silver gets above this 19.37 level, and this kind of changes per day, right? But it's not a huge slope, so it doesn't change that much. But if it kind of gets above that level, it's going to the moon. It's like look at the sky. Look at the sky. There's like not a whole lot going on until this level. And if it did do that here, it's going to get into the overbought. That doesn't mean that it's a sell, right? That means they can go into turbo mode, just like I said that ES would do the same thing. When it gets into overbought, that's not a signal to sell. When it first goes to euphoria, that's not a signal to sell. You got to wait a little bit. You got to let the euphoria, you got to let the turbo play out. Let it play out. Whether you're long in the trade or you're looking to short, let it play out. So anyway, with silver, since I'm already talking about it, I've taken some off here. If it comes back and tests the key line, will I be tempted to add again? Yeah, probably, but I won't, because I think that if it does come back and test this, and if it closes below this, that would be a signal that it might come back all the way down here and maybe form like a larger bull flag. But we'll have to see. I don't have RSI support in a way that would just be down here, I don't think. So I'd have to wait and see. Maybe if it got all the way here, I might add a little bit back. But I'm very content now because I've made a bunch of money, and somebody actually DM'd me that they had gotten furloughed from their job, and they had made their car payment based on my silver trade. And I just wanted to, that makes me so freaking happy. That almost makes me as happy as me making money. Like, I love that. I love that so much. I'm so happy that I was able to be helpful. And I don't know if the person was just going specifically off of my trade, but a lot of times I look for confirmation based on the people I respect and what they're doing. And so anyway, we hit the rocket line on Friday, and we'll have to see whether or not we back test this key line. And if we do, and it looks bullish-ish, that might be an opportunity to get in. But I don't know. There is an MA there, so, but that MA has served as support now a little bit. Like, I want it to either go higher or maybe a little bit lower before I do something else. We'll have to see. Okay, so now let's talk about ES, and then we'll go back around. Okay, so this is the weekly chart of SPX futures, and I mean this is looking like a very bullish week. And if we're looking at a reversal flag here, it looks like it's at the very top. So if it goes much higher than this, it's going to break out and probably go into continuation mode. And we're not near an RSI resistance on the weekly. It's looking pretty bullish. Let's talk about the daily. Okay, so in pink lines I trust, I wrote. That's looking bullish, technically. I actually bought a small TVIX position in extended hours because it was looking so bullish that it was almost the same thing I did. I think I just scalped one day. I think at this day, look how bullish it was looking into this day. I went ahead and went short then just to catch the gap down because I knew it would go down and then go because if something looks that bullish but it's into the close or into a Friday or into like a rest period, during the rest period sometimes whatever the heck caused this kind of euphoria price action on a smaller time frame is probably going to reverse itself. The longer the break, the more likelihood of a reversal. So if it's happening on a Friday when you go woo right into close, like yes, I think most people would tell you that the odds of continuation are high, and I would agree with that. But we'll have to see. I just feel like it's getting to be, and also, okay, this is also a signal. I didn't talk about this. I don't know if I want to, but I feel like these people don't watch my videos anyway, so it's fine. I've been pretty freaking bullish since right about here, and have we been given reasons to be bullish? Like this, the whole thing with vaccines is exactly the same thing as talking about the phases of the trade deal, right? Like we're just rallying based on hope. I did say that I didn't think this was a Head and Shoulders, even, right? I was like, I don't think so. Or that it would have Head and Shouldery price action, and it didn't. But this may not be the end of the trend, but I'm feeling like a dip is coming. And I saw the comments when I said I was going to be shorting the dips unless it got back above this level here, the pink line level. People kept saying to me, "Oh, just." More people than ever actually were saying, just ignore what's going on around us. Focus on price action. I know that, right? I've been talking about that since the bottom. But when I get 6-7 people telling me that, like all of a sudden, when we're way up here, not uber bullish for the long term. Not uber bullish. And it's a small position that I took, and I didn't share it because it's really going based off of a sentiment more than price action. And so it's not even a technical trade, and I expect to lose money on it. I'm like, you know what, I could get totally screwed on this. Like if I wake up Monday morning and they've just taken it to a whole nother level, I'm gonna know where I'm gonna take my loss on that one. I just didn't want to tell you because it was like it was, I don't want to say it technically, it was not based on my technicals because I said above this level and it's bullish, and it did close above that level. But I just don't like it here. And so if it continues to go up here, I'm probably going to stop trading it altogether, and I'm probably going to pull my money out. Originally I had hoped for this dotted line. I still hope it gets there. I'm going to trade this technically before I take my money out. But I just don't like this price action. I just feel like we need to come down to earth a little bit before we go higher. That's just a personal feeling that I have. I'm just not comfortable, especially given the number of people that told me to ignore what's going on around me. Hello, everything is bearish as F. Like, I'm a perma bear riding a trend, okay? Like, you don't need to tell me that. I got this. But yeah, I've never been told by that many people to do that. So I was like, ooh, yeah, this is sounding like people are thinking that this is 100% guaranteed. And anytime a lot of people are thinking that, it's not good. It's not good at all. All right, let's look at gold. Okay, so, in the grand scheme of things, gold is really just consolidating in all of these pink resistances. And, I'm still holding it in my investment or retirement account. And I will probably, though, add to it if it gets above 1753.40 again, because I feel like that will be quite bullish if it gets one more time past here, because we've just been eroding this. Now, ideally, from a technical perspective, what I would like to see is another shouldery thing here, and then that will give it more juice. But it's not, it doesn't look toppy here according to RSI. It looks like it's on a nice little thing, and now it might dip down again, as I said. I mean, I would love for it to hit 1707 and at the same time hit this support, or even just hit this RSI support and hit this MA at the same time. That'd be a good buy. But I'm not looking to trade it, because it's still not doing much. Now, if it gets above 1775, okay, that's a really good scalp, I think, then up to at least 1800 or so, depending on when it happens. But that's what I'm looking for there. Okay, we talked about silver. Let's talk about oil. Wow, for as many lines as I have, I feel like they're pretty good. We back tested my oil pivot last week and then went straight up to this handy MA, and now, it's not only that I had a line there from a previous gap, so we're at a line from a previous gap and also an MA here. So one might expect that it dip a little bit, even though it ended really freaking super bullish. One might expect that. Right now, to get into this, I'm gonna look for some sort of, if I'm not just scalping, I'm gonna look for some sort of pattern where it consolidates. So hopefully that will happen this week, or start to happen this week, and I'll be able to trade it again. Let's look at the 4 hour. Okay, we talked about some consolidation here, and then above this blue line, that breakout, and it looks, right now it looks pretty freaking bullish. I would love for it, though. It left a gap here. I would love for it to back test that gap, just so that we'd have an entry point, because now it's bullish. So now we're looking for an opportunity to buy it again. So I would very much love for it to back test this gap, so that we can have we can see what's happening with RSI. Come back down here, hit here. Oh, that would be nice. But it's looking very bullish on the shorter time frames. I really do want it to come back down before I enter in, and I will let you know when I start trading oil again. It's going to be very soon. Looks good. Okay, now let's talk about Natty. Oy vey. I added more lines, you guys. Like, what am I doing? So, because of all the gaps. So we filled the contract gap. I talked about maybe why it wouldn't fill that gap right away, but of course it did. And Natty is very hard to trade. If you look at this, if you sort of like adjust your eyes, this price action looks a lot like a bear flag. So, is it bullish yet? No, it is not. Is this a nice hammer candle from Friday? Yes, it is. But if you're looking to swing trade natty especially, it's a beast. So I would still personally wait until, if it gets above this key, it's broken out of the bear flag in a very positive way, right? Right. So I think it still will be very bullish above this 1.985 level. But unless you're catching these dips when they happen, and this one even didn't go down all the way, but it did bounce off of one of those handy MAs, I would be very cautious. So probably when I start talking about being cautious on natty is exactly the time to buy. I'm just saying, like, it's a thing. I don't know, but I've been scalping it both directions actually. Although right now I do have a long position. Full disclosure, I have a long position right now. So yeah, I hope it doesn't do anything weird. I'm sure it might, but we'll see. We'll see. I liked that it filled the gap, and I liked that it dipped back down, and we'll see. Okay, so that's it. I hope this was helpful. Thank you again so much for. Oh, I've got to go to my full screen. I always forget. I'm not a professional, you guys. What am I doing? Oh. Okay, so thank you again very much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it, and I hope that despite all of the things that are going on around us, and maybe things needed to get worse before they get better, and maybe that will be a way to heal altogether. I hope that you can be grateful for all of the amazing things that are happening in your life. And I was so lucky to see what makes some of you happy on Twitter when you responded to me with a picture, and I really appreciate it. That made me happy, just seeing you happy. So okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the interwebs. Bye.